Host Mr. Brown. This podcast is for pretty much all CNT classes. This is a quick overview on how to use the Gantt project program to create a quick Gantt chart for your project or your design that you're doing. In different classes, we have design projects where you need to do a Gantt chart, sometimes projects where we need to do a Gantt chart. So this is a quick overview on downloading that and using it and doing a couple of the basic mechanics in it to get it to work. First thing we'll do is I'm just going to do a quick browser search for Gantt project. Maybe if I do some correct spelling here. And what you'll see is pretty much the first link that pops up is your Gantt project. I open that up. Here is a quick overview of what it is. It even shows you a tutorial on what it looks like to build one. Off to the right is a download link, and you'll see there's links for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Over the years, I've installed it on all three, Windows, Mac, and Linux. It works fine. It looks very similar on all three. So even though I might be doing this on one OS and you're on a different one, it's similar enough you should be fine. So pick your OS, download your file. Once you install, you should get some sort of icon that looks like this little guy here. It almost looks like a little bug or something like that that's flying. Launch that. Once you launch it, you'll get something that looks like this window right here. What this is going to allow us to do is build a quick Gantt chart, a timeline to show how am I going to implement my plan. Something very important when you're dealing with IT or projects is what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. If you just kind of think through a logic of I need to install my router first and power it up before I can configure it and before I can connect it to switches and make my network work. So I need to plan for that, especially if it's a large network install. I need to plan for when is step A going to get done, when is step B going to get done, when is step C going to get done. Another way to think of it is if I'm going to build a house, I need to have the materials delivered to the job site. Then I can build the first floor. Then I can build the second floor. Then I can put the roof on. So I need to plan for that. So this program is going to allow us to make one very simply, and because it's computer, because it's computer program, if you will, I can make changes to it very easily. So on the left is where I start listing my tasks. Then I have dates that I can plug in, and over on the right shows me little bars to show about how long a task is taking. Well, let's get a couple things in here so we can manipulate them. So I'm going to quick start putting some tasks in here, and a little button on the top looks like a clock, allows us to put a task in. So first task shows up, and maybe one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to order our routers for our plan. So I'm just going to put a whole bunch of tasks in here, then we'll start to manipulate them. So maybe I'll put another line below it that is order switches for the plan. Then I might say something like order servers for my plan. Now in real life, I'd probably be detailing this a little bit more. There we go. Maybe detailed specifically as to what server or what router or what switch. But I'm just putting a couple general ones in here. Maybe I'll do something like order my access points or something of that nature. Alright, so there's a couple tasks to start. Then let's put a couple more. Once I order these and they get delivered, one of the first things I'll probably do is install my routers, if you will. Then I'll probably install my switches. Then I'll install my servers, install my access points. Oh, maybe I want to configure them next, because once installing them is like bolting them into the rack and powering them on. So maybe the next thing I want to do is actually configure my routers, configure my switches, configure my servers. I know this is kind of repetitive at this point, but you'll see where I'm going in a minute. Configure access points. Okay, now I have a handful of tasks in here. One of the first things I can do with this program that's kind of nifty is I can take a group of things, group of similar things, and group them together. And I'm going to be sneaky real quick, and I'm going to put a new task up here that says order equipment. Just a general order equipment one. Equipment. Now that that's there, it's second on line, or second down. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to use the up arrow. That'll allow me to move it up. So I can highlight these and use the arrows up here to move the tasks up and down if they're in the wrong order. That's one of the first things we do. But now I have an order equipment one in here. I'm going to highlight all my order routers, order switches, order server, order access points. Highlight that. I'm going to use the right arrow up here. And that's going to indent them so they're now part of this order equipment. It's kind of like I've grouped them together into a folder. Now I can create little phases of my project. So let me put another one in here that says install equipment. Install equipment. And I'll take all these installs here and I will group them together and I'll hit the right arrow so they're all under that. And then I'll put another one in here that says, oops, get down here. Let's do configure equipment. I'll move him up. Select all these configures, hit the right arrow. Boom. Now I have almost 3 phases to my project. That's one of the first things you might want to do. Kind of group some similar things together. Now that group them together so that you can handle them almost as a whole. Kind of like I'm going to order the supplies. Then we'll build the first floor. Then we'll build the second floor. Then we'll build the third floor. That kind of thing. Now that I've done that, again, if I need to move things around, I can highlight and use my arrows, move them up, move them down, double click on it to edit the typing or whatever that happens to be. I'm going to do a quick save of this guy. I'll do a project save. And I'm just going to throw it on the desktop and I'll do sample Gantt. Sample Gantt chart. Here we go. I'll save that right to the desktop. Notice mine popped up over there. There he is. Okay. Now that I have it in here, now that I have it saved, let's go ahead and do some date editing. Well, in real life, it takes some experience to know how long things are going to take. But for now, we can kind of come in and estimate this will take a couple days, this will take a couple days, this will take a couple days. And we can just get some estimates in here. So maybe we want to order our equipment starting on December 1st. So we'll say December 1st, 13. Don't try to edit the dates on the major topic areas. Don't try to do that. Won't let you. Once you edit the individual dates or the dates of the individual tasks in here, the phase, if you will, that will reflect that. So I will put all these in here as 12/2/13, meaning I'm going to try to submit my order to my supplier at the beginning of December to start this job. 12/2/13. Now what you'll see happens is I scroll over here a little bit. I'm going to just grab this and scroll it. You'll see that the overall bracket, the order equipment bracket, shows an overall for all the phases. So don't try to edit that overall. Well, once I've ordered my equipment, let's say it's going to take a month to come in, one of the first things I'll do is I will start installing my network infrastructure. So I will start on January 2nd. We'll let everybody have the day off. We won't let them come in on New Year's Day. So January 2nd, we'll start installing routers. On January 3rd, we'll start installing switches. And so forth. And I can start working my way down the line here and at least put some estimates in of how long something's going to take. The 4th for servers. You notice that popped at the 6th because it went after the weekend for us. I'm going to scroll over here and you should see, actually I'm going to zoom out. It skipped the weekend for us automatically. Woohoo! And then install access points. That might take a little longer. So we might say on this guy we'll start on the 7th, but we might take a whole week on that one. So we'll do 1/7 to 1/14. All right, so we can start getting some ballparks in here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so we can see our dates a little bit better. Oops. All right, get out of here. Let's change our year here. There we go, 14. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Make sure you get the year right in here. There we go. Now we should be looking better. Since I put the year 14 in there, it kind of goofed this up a little bit. Now we're starting to see some of the order equipment phase up here. We're starting to see the install phase here. Now we would come down and do the same thing on the configure phase. So I'll do these real quick. We'll put in, we'll start on the, maybe the 15th or something like that. We'll say 1/15/14. Then we'll do, 1, 16, 14. We'll do 1, 17, 14, and so forth. We're just getting some rough dates in here for now. I'll show you a couple things we can do to tweak this. 18, 14. All right. Now that we have a few rough dates in here, just like any other good computer program, I could actually take these bars and now start to drag them to indicate it's going to take longer to do something. It automatically reflects it over here on the left. So that becomes kind of handy if I want to start saying, well, you know, there's no way we're going to get these routers installed in 1 week. Let's start after the weekend here. Actually, let's block out this whole week, and they're not going to start till after the weekend. Oops. And I can come in here and say, instead of 1-2, let's do 1-5. We're going to start on Monday 1-5. There we go. Now I can come in here and start adjusting how long things are going to take. And maybe these guys will start this week but not finish until later. So they'll maybe start on the 7th. There we go. Now we can start tweaking things a little bit better. Beauty of a program like this. Well, let's say I have a whole bunch of that, you know, the way I like it. I'll do a quick save on this now. One of the next things you can do with a Gantt chart is start to show that one piece has to be done before the next one starts. So maybe I need to indicate in here that I can't start configuring the routers until they are installed. So to do that, I show what's called a dependency. So I'm going to click on my install routers bar up here. I'm going to click and hold. I get a little arrow, and I'm going to let go of it on top of the configure routers bar. And you'll see now they are connected. That is showing somebody that is watching our project, somebody, you know, maybe a manager or somebody else watching the project to know, look, there's no way I can configure the router till it's installed. So if this installation is taking a long time, that's why the guy that's in charge of configuring is not getting done. Kind of like, hey, I can't start building the second floor until the first floor is done. So this starts showing some dependencies. So on here, try to put a couple of dependencies in here to show, hey, this can't get done until this phase 2 here can't get done until phase 1 is done. So I'm going to slide this out here for servers. Let's do something like 1.8 on here. There we go. Now we're starting to show. We'll do the access points. We'll do 1.9 on here. Oops, I keep double clicking instead of single clicking. We'll do 1.9 here. And we will show this guy going this way. 1.9. There we go. Now I can start showing, hey, this stuff down here cannot get done until this stuff is done. That's called a dependency. So try to get your tasks in here and try to get some sort of logical order. Try to get some dates that would reflect maybe how long something's going to take, and try to show a couple dependencies of, you know, I can't configure my routers until they're installed. Once you've done all that, we'll save. And let's say I am done with this. I need to format it for use in my submission. So I'm going to do an export on this guy. I'll pick something like PNG. I'll say next. It says, what date range do you want to use? Well, we're pretending to start this on December 1. So we're going to say December 1. And we go in partway into January. So let me go into at least the end of January at this point. And I'll select that date range and say OK. What it should spit out for me is my Gantt project in a PNG over here. Now I can take this and drop it into my Word document for submission later. Okay, so there's a quick, handy way to deal with your Gantt project. Something else that might come handy for other classes that you do. If I do a view up here, oops, let me go back to here. If I do a view up here, I can click the PERT chart. Sometimes PERT charts are handy, different projects you do to show when something needs to start and when something needs to end. It shows you the approximate dates of things. This is kind of handy for some other classes you do around here, showing almost a flow chart of what has to get done first, what has to get done second, etc. So that's kind of a little handy thing. So there's a quick overview of your Gantt program.